I feel like I was just sitting here thinking, like, I don't know what the heck happened, and doesn't this always happen, but I have so many new decks in right now that for the first time truly ever, I've got a box with a deck in it that I have not opened. And I always open my mail right away, but this, like, I know what's in it. And
Right.
I feel like I've got so many things to play with that I just need to, like, it's like you're not here yet if I don't open the box.
I mean, that's valid. I have a whole stack too, but I don't open mine until I do my one video.
Yes, which I'm like, I feel like that's so smart because then it's like, at least you know there's that one point where you're gonna open everything.
Yeah.
I felt like I had like 3 or 4 months where it was very slow new deck
Mhm.
wise, and now I'm like, I feel like twice a week there's something here. I'm like, what's going on? And I
Yeah.
keep purchasing them, so I'm like,
Yeah. They
I
just
know it's
they're
on.
not showing up magically. They're you're ordering them. That's hilarious. Yeah, I've got several and I go through okay, the only problem with doing that is that I'll buy things like a month ago, right? So whatever thought process I had when I bought it, I now don't remember what that was or why I have it. So that is the drawback to it because I'm sure it's probably happened in some of my coffee and cards where I'm like, why did I buy this deck? Why is it
I
here?
know there was a reason.
Like I can't remember. I mean, it'll come to me or I'll find something else to do with it, but I'm just like that's the one drawback. And then I was like, I need to switch my coffee and cards with my like decks that I want to use for the month, but then I'm like, "Oh, but if I do that, then I won't have opened all my new decks. So what if I want to use one of my new decks?"
Right, right.
So,
It's the cycle.
yeah, it's the cycle for sure. And I was like, I'm not going to order that many decks this year. I was thinking I was like cuz I'm trying to clean out my decks.
Same.
Mhm.
I thought the same thing because it's like true. I had a moment at the begin. No, maybe not at the beginning of this year, but in the last few months where I'm like, okay, I don't need to go through and like purge anything by any means.
Yeah.
But you know, when you get that feeling, it's like this itchy kind of feeling of I know there are things here that they're just hidden because
Mhm.
I haven't touched them in so long, and it's because I know somewhere deep inside of me that it's not for me, and I just
Mhm.
haven't approached that question yet. And
Right.
so it's like I'm just slowly going through things and being like, okay, I know. It's so similar to like cleaning out clothes, I always
Mhm.
think, where it's like sometimes I'll hold on to these pieces of clothing because I'm like, oh, but maybe I'll want to wear it to something like this when it's an
Mhm.
occasion that is never going to come up for me. And realistically, it's like the material's itchy or something, so I'm not going to want to wear it. And I just hold on to it.
Yeah. I do the same thing with like I and it relates to decks too. Clothes that don't fit, right? They
Yeah.
might fit eventually or maybe they won't or but I do that with decks. Like decks that don't fit but like it's cute so I keep them anyway, but I can't like it doesn't fit. Why do I
Right.
have it?
Right. I can't think of a reason I might use it one day,
Mhm.
but who knows?
Yeah. Well, then I run into the problem, and this is a very like content creator problem, which you also are. So maybe you can relate to this, but I'll be like, I should just get rid of the decks I don't use.
I have this big, like just one of those plastic totes
Hmm.
that I just, any deck that I wasn't interested in working with at the time went into that and just went into the basement. And I
Hmm.
pulled it back out recently and went through it. And I'm like, I still don't know like what to do with some of these. And it's like some of them I'm like, it's not really that I don't like it
Hmm.
or that like I could see myself using it. I just don't know what the drawback is sometimes.
Yeah. I run into things where like I like the look of it or I like the theme of it or something, but I'm like, one, either I have 900 other things that do the same thing.
Right.
So like okay, do I really need another one? I mean, maybe, maybe not. Or it's like it's that fantasy self version of me that
Right.
thinks I'm gonna use it in this, that, or the other. And then like I just don't. Like, I don't know.
Right. And so now I find myself thinking of decks in categories of
Mhm.
things like specific like self-made categories I know I'll think about. Like I just recently pulled out all my medieval feeling tarots because for whatever reason, that's a category in my brain where I'm like, sometimes I'm just in a medieval tarot mood, but I know I'm only going to go to 1 or 2 of them.
Right.
And I've got 5 here. So what's going on?
I get on kicks with like themes too. Cause I'm just like, I was recently doing that. I did that. I got the 5-cent tarot and the the little oracle. I know you have it because that's why I saw it was on your channel. The little like fortune tellery circusy kind of thing. And then I went
Mother Mort's one.
Mother Mort's, yeah. Then I went down the rabbit hole of like, okay, well, let me see what other decks I can find with this sort of theme to them. And then like I did rein myself back in because I was like, why? It's like a theme that is very specific. I won't use more than like, and I already had like 5 decks that fit in that. So I'm like, why am I hunting for more of them? It's just like, it's a Pokemon thing. I like catch on, like there's this thing and now I want all of them, right?
Right. And I think there is something to be said for how fun it is to kind of like, it's almost like that meme of the guy standing with all the red string and like connecting all the dots. So like there's so much joy in thinking of a theme and being like, how many can I connect back to this though? Like, okay, here's all the ones I have. Are there more? It's almost like sometimes I have to stop myself and be like, okay, am I just having fun?
Right.
Connecting all the dots to this like self-created theme, or is it something I actually want?
I feel like I need to like get okay with the like window shopping the theme.
Yes.
Like, okay, just it's cool to like see how many other things I can find that fit in that theme. And like, I don't know, create like old school like Pinterest board or something. I don't need to literally buy them all.
Right. That's actually a great idea. And I feel like you could even make Pinterest boards with, I don't know if there's tarot decks, like pictures of them on Pinterest. There must be.
There probably is, but like I think you can just like use like a link from Amazon. So you could just like link it
that could actually
or whatever.
Be fun.
Yeah, just to like see like how many decks could you get in this theme? Ones that you have, ones that you don't. Because like usually when it's a theme like that, it's a very like one-time thing for me, or it's a very specific thing. Or I mean, I kind of run into that a little bit with the like the Weaver's practice stuff, because those are all very thematic. And
right.
So like, sometimes I only use those decks like once a year, and it's for that.
Absolutely. And like I think too, especially like with something like that, if there is a theme, I want to fit it perfectly. Like there's something that like it scratches such an itch in my brain to like get it spot on.
Me too, even though I like tell everybody you don't have to use the theme, because you legit don't. You don't have to use this theme. You can use any deck. But my brain wants to find the perfect thematic decks to fit the theme.
It scratches such an itch. It's the same as like doing the playing with pairs thing of finding the perfect pair where it's like all these things are matching up is so satisfying.
It really is. What if that is like, are you comfortable like talking about neurodivergence in tarot?
Yeah.
Okay, I figured as such, since you do talk about it on your channel. But I wonder if it's like that, because I know we've had some conversations, because I've questioned like my own shit. I'm like, this is an interesting little facet of my personality I just discovered. Do you think it has anything to do with like any sort of relation to that?
Yes, I definitely think so, because there is a pattern recognition is like a big skill and like a real kind. I try not to use positive and negative, but like sometimes when you're like researching that kind of thing, it's hard not to be like, oh my gosh, like this explains so many things that, you know, might be hard, have been hard in your life, that I do like to highlight some things where I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a superpower.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
Yes. And I do think that pattern recognition is one of those things. And I think that's why like it feels like a puzzle or a challenge that I love so much. So finding things that fit the theme exactly right, or finding pairings that are perfect. It's like it is taking notice to certain patterns of things, even just within the cards, and it's like a puzzle.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's fun.
It is. It's so
I
much.
mean, if you, I guess if you enjoy that sort of thing, it's fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I went down that hole with like the whole like hyperfixation thing, like trying to find, because like that can definitely be a negative, right? It can definitely be destructive and all of that. But I'm like, oh, there's actually superpowers in hyperfixation too. Like
Yes.
I went down that rabbit hole and I was trying to like learn more about that and discover more about that. Because I mean, it's probably no surprise if anybody's been here for 5 minutes. I definitely have hyperfixation tendencies. But I think that also allows me to do 20 different projects and eventually finish them all.
Absolutely. And I think it's a thing where it's like there could be 20 different things going at the same time, but when something gets completed, it's done like more thoroughly than anyone else could probably do, because that power of the hyperfixation is so real, where it's like, I know I'll get down rabbit holes of just learning about things, and now all of a sudden, just 2 days later, I'm an expert on the thing I was learning about recently is corn sweat. Have you ever heard of corn sweats? Because I didn't. Based all the long story short, all the like humidity going on right now. I don't know if it's humid for you, but it's coming from the Midwest. They grow so many acres of corn, and a natural process of corn growing is that it releases moisture. And there's so much corn growing that every year I think it's like around the same time, we get these humid temperatures because of the corn.
Because the corn's hot and sweaty.
Corn, yes. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. But like that's also fascinating and interesting.
I kept having it pop up on my weather app of like, oh, because of corn sweat. And I'm like, excuse me? What do you mean? Now I need to know everything.
That's so funny. Yeah. No, I totally get that. It was like when I went down that rabbit hole of commonplacing, and it wasn't just enough for me to start commonplacing. I had to research the whole freaking history of commonplacing and where it came from. And I bought like 5 different books, and I had to like watch videos.
Too. That was scratching such an itch for me. That was.
I love it. Are you still doing commonplacing?
Yes, I actually have. Where's my? Do I have them here? Oh, I do. Oh my gosh. Hobonichi planner is now planner, and then I got another one of those. What's this brand? Midori? Is that it? Yeah. One of those notebooks that I put in the back. That is now my commonplace journal. I used to have the Weaver's Practice back here, but then realized like, well, I usually do that once a week, so I don't really need to carry it with me every day to work.
Yeah.
So now I just keep that separate. And I had a different notebook that was, or my original one, but I like to have it all together because I would pull out both at once. And I'm like, this is crazy on my desk. So now it's all within one book, and it's so fun.
That's really cool. I had to ditch my cousin because it got overwhelming for me.
That is so fair. I don't use it as a practical planner at all.
Yeah.
Pretty much like a daily journal. Sometimes it's a lot of journaling. Sometimes it's more just stickers.
See, that's where I started. I feel like I don't know where, I mean, I did a whole video on it. So I kind of know at some point I got all up in my head about what it needed to look like. And then I stopped. Cause I think when I started it, cause I think you and I, before the year started, I was talking about using the cousins, and that I was using it as just like a notepad.
Yes.
On my desk. Like I just left it out, and I just wrote whatever on the daily pages that I need, whether it was like a to-do thing or a note about something else, or like, and somehow I got all up in my head about what that was supposed to look like.
It's so easy to,
and it shifted,
fall into that, because I find myself doing the same thing where even if it's not necessarily putting pressure on myself, but like I'm trying to find an example. Like I'll get into these patterns of like, I'll take a sticker sheets. And
Mhm.
like I have to use the whole sticker sheet, and it goes in like this circular pattern, and then I can write
Oh,
inside of it. And even though
interesting.
like that's not like that's fine. That's fine if
Mhm.
I want to keep doing it, but sometimes I'll catch myself and I'm like, no, I need to remember that I'm just making that up. Like I
Yeah.
can do something different in here, and that's fine. I'm just making up these arbitrary rules.
Yep. My whole life is arbitrary rules.
Same. And it's hard to realize that of like, okay, I've been doing this one thing the same way just because I decided one day. Like,
Mhm.
decide again.
Mhm. I do that a lot with deadlines. I'm like, I have to get this thing done. Okay, I have very few actual deadlines in my life.
Right.
So like if I say to I have to get this thing done by this day, that is me putting that deadline on myself. So like trying to remind myself I can move it. Like I am my own boss. I can move the deadline if I want to.
Right. But it's so, that's something that interests me a lot because I do the same thing where like I never use a planner as it's intended to, because if I like at work, if I get a task, I'm just gonna do it right now. Like it's like
Mhm.
there's never like a, okay, I got this, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Like it's just sort
Mhm.
of how my brain works. I put this like instant deadline on it of like I must do it the day it was received, even though
Mhm.
no one's giving me a deadline. And it's such an interesting thing of why do maybe deadlines just make it feel more comfortable? I don't know.
I don't know, because I'm like really bad about like I will run things up to the very end of the deadline. And I won't like, and I think that's the thing with deadlines. If it's too long, I just won't do it until like it's like due. Like my husband teases me all the time because he's like, when is that due? If it's a month from now, 29 days, you'll start on it. Yeah, probably. And I'll finish it all in one day. And it's ridiculous. And I could space it out, but no, I don't, because it's like my brain goes, it's due on that day. So therefore, I can't spend the next month thinking about it. I'll think about it at the time I do it, which
Yeah.
is right before the deadline. It's like that connection in my brain is just like, I guess that's why I don't really like to make deadlines that are like really far out or even really deadlines at all, because I will do that. I'm
Yeah.
like, deadline means not just it's due, but that's when I'm gonna do it, like right before.
Yes, that is so true because I think that's where like what I always say is like I'm either gonna do it right now, or
Mhm.
you're one gonna have to ask me again,
Mhm.
or it's the same thing where if it's not something I can do right now and there's a deadline on it, then yeah, I'm gonna do it the day before. Like it's almost
Yeah.
like self-created urgency in a way.
Yeah. And I'm the same way. Like if somebody hands me a task and can you do this for me? I'm going to most likely drop everything I'm doing right now
Yes.
to do that task. Because for one, I don't want it hanging over me. And two, if it's for someone else, then I will always prioritize someone else's shit over my own every time. I'm just
Right.
like, your stuff. Oh, you asked me to do something that's way more important than whatever it is I'm doing. So let me stop what I'm doing, do your thing, and then I'll come back to mine.
Yes, I do the same exact thing where it's like, "Oh, I don't wanna be, like, responsible if they can't get their stuff done when they want
Hmm.
to." So, yeah, it's like it's either gonna be immediate or it's gonna take me forever. There's no in
Yeah. Oh, same. It's like deck reviews. Oh my goodness. I don't get them very often anymore because if you send me a deck review, unless you stay on my ass about it, you're probably not going to see it for 6 months because
I
one,
know.
I might forget. And two, I'm just like, it's not in my schedule. It's not in my like thing. I'm like, I'm terrible about reviews. That's why I just don't really do them anymore.
Like, I that's why I have to do them as unboxings, because if I
Yeah.
don't, then it's not going to happen. It's like I need that push of, if you wanna see it, you have to put the camera on and film it, otherwise you
Yeah.
don't open it.
Yeah.
Because once I open it, it's like I'm done. That's it. And even
Yeah.
if I'm using it, and so that's like I always feel bad accepting books sometimes because sometimes I'll be really good about it,
Hmm.
but then other times it's like it'll sit there and it'll be like 6 months late, and that's also just I'm a slow reader, but it'll be
Same.
6 months later, I'm like,
Mhm.
yes.
I did it. I know. I'm a super slow reader too. I've been reading like the same book for like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months now. And I'm almost at the end of it. But also, like, I'm reading 5 things at once. I'm writing 3 different books. I'm making content, and then, I'm gaming or whatever else, and it's like, it's no wonder I'm a slow reader. Because I love reading, it gets so shoved down my list of priorities.
Yes. And it also depends on like just the interest in the moment,
Mhm.
what it's about. Like with Lisa's book, Unlocking the Tarot, like 2 days and I was through it because I was just
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, like,
Right.
and like if there's certain fiction books that
Mhm.
it's like if it's just in the right category at the right time,
Mhm.
2 days and I could be done. But then other times it takes forever.
Yeah, I am exactly the same because I have so many other things going on, and I book switch a lot because I think I'm a moody reader, like
Yeah.
tarot reader and book reader. So if I pick up a book and I'm like not feeling in that space, I'll go get a different one. So I'll maybe have 2 or 3 different fiction books going
Me
at the
too.
same time because I'm like, I'm not feeling this one today. I'm feeling more in this kind of a vibe at the moment.
Yes, I do the same thing. I always at least have 2 fiction books going at the same
Mhm.
time, and then I'll also have a nonfiction
And a
one
nonfiction, of
sometimes.
course, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Like it's like I need to have a physical book and a Kindle book, and then
Mhm.
I'm pretty much like when it comes to fiction, I don't really usually read anything unless it has some fantasy elements at the very least.
Mhm.
And so I find one of them has to be dramatic fantasy and the other has to be some sort of cozy, like, or at least more
Mhm.
lighthearted fantasy, because that's sort of like the two moods, I guess, really of most things that I do, like with decks and books. It's like I either
Mhm.
need it to be like dramatic or
Mhm.
or like lighthearted.
Hard-hitting or cozy and comfy. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I feel like my decks and my books kind of rotate in a similar sort of energy. Like, I bet you I could probably draw correlations between what I'm reading and the decks I'm working with. Because I feel like I sit in that, like, I'll sit in a space for a while. I think I just surround myself in vibes, like
Yes. Yes. And I think that's so, I don't know, I love doing that too. Like which I don't think I really even realized either, that the things
Mhm.
I'm reading and video games I'm playing, it's like
Uh-huh.
I guess I am aware that it's like I instantly am thinking about the other things I like doing, and it all has to
That
match
correlates.
together. And I know it's another neurodivergent thing. I think it's called, I want to say the term is mirroring, perhaps, where I know
Mhm.
I do it a lot, where if I'm reading a certain book and the characters act a certain way, I think mirroring is more truly like personally taking on like the persona. But
Mhm.
I think more generally and broadly it could also be seen as surrounding yourself with like the things that the book character might have wanted to. And
Mhm.
I absolutely do that, where it's like everything all of a sudden turns into this like immersive experience around it.
Yeah, I think it's really cool though. And when it shifts, it like everything shifts with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing. It's like it's all that is gone now and we're shifting into this totally different sort of energy or vibe or whatever it is you want to call it.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's any like be curious to see. I don't know if how it is for you, but if there's any like actual correlation to anything in my life, I think it's just like one thing will spark it. It could be a book, it could be a deck, it could be a TV show, it could be a game, and it's like then I'm like off and running with it. Like
Yes.
it's
It
just one little spark.
captures my attention, and yeah, it's like I've kind of become obsessed with something
Mhm.
character, and it's like it's just all I can think about. Like I recently read, there's 2 books in the series so far, but the first one is called The Tainted Cup, and
Mhm.
it's a fantasy retelling of, I was just gonna say Shakespeare, that's not it. Sherlock Holmes, both
Uh-huh.
Sherlock Holmes. and the Sherlock Holmes character is female and very, very autistic coded. But like the way the world is set up, it's like she is seen as kind of strange, but not in the same way like I think someone might be seen as strange in our world. I don't really know how else to explain it with that, but it's just everything about that character. I finished the book like the first one I finished a long time ago, and the second one I finished probably a month ago at this point, and I truly can't stop thinking about that one character. And it's like, because I can't like obviously have that character in person physically, and there's no more books for me to read, it's like, what else can I do to kind of bring her alive in some ways?
Yeah. I think that's really cool though. It's like it really is creating these sort of multi-layered sort of practices, right? Because it's not just the one thing.
Right.
It's like, you know, when we bring like cards into gaming or cards into reading or whatever, or reading into cards or journaling or whatever it is, but that whole like multi-layered thing, to me, that makes the whole experience, regardless of what I'm doing, it makes it so much more dynamic and so much more like personal.
Yes, I agree, because it's sort of taking these outside characters that would maybe just sort of be one note is not really the right word, but like they kind of start and they're finite. They start and stop when the book starts and ends, and makes it more than that. Like I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my gosh, she would love this deck. Like I actually know, but I just think she would.
Yeah, I think that's so cool though. I mean, I've seen a lot of us do that in a lot of different ways across, you know, things that we're working with and videos that we make or discussions that we have. And I think that is so cool. It just really creates these big, like robust practices that go just beyond like the one thing, which is super cool, I think.
Yes, and I think what is also really cool is when there's a lot of people who are kind of doing the same thing with the same piece of media, like what happened with Astarian boyfriend.
Yep.
What I have found so interesting is I feel like, well, you know, everyone who's kind of had this obsession with him, we see him in a lot of similar ways, but everyone's definition and like ways they kind of extrapolate off of that character makes him just a little different to each person, which I think is so interesting.
Yeah, that is so cool. It's like when we're playing in game, it's the same kind of concept. Like he's been romanced by everybody at some point, right? But like a Red as Astarian is different than say like Alex's Astarian was, or now a Ren's Astarian is, since she's the newest one. It's interesting how it's the same character and it's the same lines and it's the same basically, right? And it's the same storyline basically, but how we interact with him, it's different every time. And I've seen that with like the deck. So everybody's like, I shouldn't say everybody, there's a lot of people that have the boyfriend deck, right?
Yeah.
And the way that people work with it, that I've seen people work with it, is so fascinating because it's the same deck. They're adding that Astarian layer to it, but then they add all of these other things that are very personal and unique to their relationship with that character. And I think that is so fascinating.
Yes, and so neat and interesting. And I feel like probably anyone who, like the video game developers and, you know, writers, I'm not that they are seeing our Astarian deck, but
probably not.
That would be so cool to see, like, oh my gosh, like I had this idea for this character and people are able to connect with that character in so many different ways outside of, again, like their kind of finite experience.
Yeah, that is super cool. It's interesting to watch these people create these, you know, really personal dynamic relationship with decks. It doesn't have to be like boyfriend one. That's just a very specific, very clear example of something that's happened with that. But I've seen it with a lot of other different decks, like deity decks. That was a big thing too. I have certain decks that I associate with certain deities and stuff like that. And just, it adds that whole other layer to it.
Right. And like now going back to the conversation on like kind of clearing out just a little bit, I don't find myself also looking at it with that lens of like, do I feel kind of that sort of connection with this deck where I feel like it could do something like that for me? No, I guess, that's kind of hard to say because until there is something to connect to it,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there are some decks where I'm like, I don't think so. Like something's just not there with it like that. And not that
Yeah.
I'll have to do that per se, but it is such a different experience feeling connected to a deck, almost like in a way outside of its, I don't know if intended uses.
Or purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
so different, like such a different reading experience. I usually, like, I'll even just pull a card before I start playing just because,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's like, again, like certain things that come up, it's like, ooh, that's interesting. Like I feel like I need to do a reading on that of like,
Mm-hmm.
why is that making me feel a certain way? Or like, why did my character decide to do that? And like, how do I feel about it?
Yeah. It's really interesting when you look at it from you are separate from your character, but you also know there's underlying connections between you and your character. So that's really interesting. Um like in our last role play, like Daphne and Alex both had decks. And at the very, very end of that, and we pulled cards personally, not on stream, but we pulled cards personally for our characters and we used, their decks. And sometimes we use their decks together and stuff like that. And like Lisa pulled cards at the very, very end of that game just to, reflect on that. But we had used those throughout as a way to also like connect with the character and get to know them better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting, like the tie-in that can have.
Mm-hmm. So have you ever used tarot in your D&D?
No, I haven't because it just hasn't really, I don't know, it hasn't come, I should. I feel like I should because it hasn't come up. I think because it's like a true, like it's a D&D game. I know that there's rules around the characters using decks that I haven't thought like I can just use one to connect with my character. I can just do
Mm-hmm. You
because
could do that for sure, yeah. The other thing I did was when I was playing like in a D&D campaign, so I was actually playing a druid, and what I used mine for was I did readings for the other people in party at camp. So I did a little so I didn't actually use it as a mechanic in game because yes, there's rules around certain things you can use and stuff like that. I mean, a good DM will roll with it anyway, but that's one way that I found that was really fun to use it like actually in campaign was she would pull little 3-card readings for each of the people and then them as their character can interact with that however their character would. Do you believe me in these cards that I'm pulling for you, or do you think I'm completely full of shit? And it's really interesting. It adds another aspect for role play and for character development for everybody in the party too.
Yes, that is. Oh, I'm gonna have to bring a tarot deck next time because that is
Yeah,
really,
it's fun.
and there
I
are so many things to explore because like you said,
Mhm.
like, I think when you're making a character, it's almost like, at least I find it's like I can't help for there to be some aspect of like either myself or maybe it's even just like how I think about myself.
Mhm.
And it's, I always leave, like whether it's playing tabs or in that D&D session, I always leave like with this little bit of feeling of like, ooh, I feel like I need to like explore what my character just did a little bit because
Mhm.
I'm having a feeling on that.
Mhm. Yeah. We do yeah, I do that a lot because I have especially when you're doing like, any of this sort of role play thing, and especially when you're role playing with I mean, it's different if you're role playing because you can role play in a solo game too. You absolutely
Right.
can. But when you're role playing with other people and you're interacting with other people's characters, and then your character does or says something, and you could be like, okay, I interacted like, why do I interact with this person this way and this person this way? And it's interesting to explore. You're not really exploring your relationships with those people per se, but what their character represents and what your character represents, which is
Yeah,
really interesting.
it's so interesting.
And I find cards in the tarot is actually really helpful for that. Like I had a whole journal for quite a big chunk of Daphne's run. Eventually I just, because I've got so many other projects going on, I had to ditch it. But for a while I had a journal where after every time we played, I would make a little note about what it is that we did in game, and then I would think about anything that either surprised me that she did, or something that I had a feel around, something she did or said. And then I would like journal about that a little bit and then pull cards around that. And I did that
Oh,
quite frequently.
that's very cool.
So it was a really fun thing to do. And it really, like, because I realized that like a lot of Daphne was my childhood shit coming back up. There was a lot of correlation between her character and stuff from my childhood, which is probably true of Ren too.
That's how I feel about Areta too, because it's just that like adding that middle child detail. It's like this whole persona came out that every time we play afterwards, I'm like, I have to think about that. Like, I feel like it's some inner child thing is through with that, and it's so interesting.
It's interesting too because Areta is Elwyn's favorite, and she's very vocal about that.
Yes, which is not usual middle child.
It's yeah. But then I was thinking about that. I was like, why did Elwyn, if she did it, and I don't know if she did it or just kind of naturally happened that way, but why is Areta her favorite? And I was like, is it because Areta reflects some aspect of her personality? Is it because who Areta's dad is? Is it a combination of those things? Or like, is it something, and then looking at her relationship with Kali and then her relationship with Ophelia. And it's really interesting because it helps you, like, I could deep dive into my own personal shit with that too as well, of course, but actually I was more looking at it from the character's perspective.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because Areta's dad being Halsin, like, I feel like there is something there because that's the only one of the fathers that Elwyn is actually like revisiting and remaking a connection with. And so I would guess that, yeah, there is this kind of disconnect almost in that way with the other children because whoever their fathers are, it's just like,
yeah,
reveal. Okay, you see ya.
Yeah, it's like there's this weird, I mean, this probably sounds terrible for Ophelia and Kali, but like I feel like there is this little triad between Elwyn, Halsin, and Areta. They are a little family together, and especially now that Halsin's in camp.
Yes.
So like the three of them are back together, whereas like Kali's dad is Raphael, who he comes and goes, and Elwyn's made very clear about, like, that was just a time and a place thing for her.
Right.
He was hot. It was a time and a place thing. And Ophelia's dad has not been revealed yet.
Oh.
So, but it's interesting because I think it is that part of it, but I think also Areta gets picked on more than the other. Like her sisters pick on her.
Yes. Yeah. She doesn't always start it.
No, she doesn't always start it. Her sisters pick on her, and I was thinking, I bet, and if we remember, Elwyn and Jahira are sisters.
Oh yes.
And who's the famous druid out of all of them? It's not Elwyn.
Right.
It's Jahira. So I was like, I bet you that there's also, besides the Halsin thing, I think that Elwyn feels more of a connection with Areta.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of living in her sister's shadow a lot of the time.
Right. And I think that makes sense. And even with the Halsin thing about like Jahira having a short fling with Halsin too, it's almost layer of wanting what the other one has. So interesting duality there of Elwyn's jealous of Jahira, but is Jahira also jealous of Elwyn? Because at one point she did try to sort of like, I guess take is not quite the right word, but like I can't think of another way to say it, like kind of take what Elwyn at one point had.
Yeah. True. And yeah, and Elwyn's like, I've got this big family now, and you've got like nothing. You've got Harper's. That's all you've
Right.
got.
Right.
Right. But
Where like
it's fascinating to me how, and like it took me like sitting there and thinking about like, why is that the dynamic? And like it doesn't matter, but it adds a layer to how I play Elwyn, because now I know a little bit more about her psychology and why she is like the way she is. And like she's an absolute horrible mom. She's terrible. She's like the worst mom ever. But like now I kind of understand a little bit more of her psychology of why she is the way she is, which I think allows me to, play her better.
right, definitely. And I think that is another fun aspect because like really anyone I'm interacting with, like even just like in real life, like I can't help but think about those things of like,
Mhm.
I want to know, like, oh, why did they do that? Why did they do
Mhm.
these things? Like, I want to know, but you can't really do that with real people. You shouldn't.
Right.
So, having these characters to do that with, it's like a fun outlet for that kind of curiosity as well.
Mhm.
But then, even so, it's like I find through these characters, like then going out into the real world, it's like I can think like, oh, this person is acting in a similar way to this character. Like maybe
Mhm.
that's also why they're doing that. Just
Mhm.
interesting. Like it's an interesting outlet for that as well.
Yeah, it's like you get to really like explore different aspects of personality. I mean,
Yeah.
that was really interesting in our villains run, because Lisa and I are not in general mean villainous people. I mean, we try pretty hard not to be. But to flip that script, we tried really hard to be in that game. Well, Lisa's character more than mine because of the character that I was playing, but it's interesting because then you get to kind of step into that psychology and look at, why people do the things that they do and
Yes.
why people act the way that they do. And then you kind of in a sense get a chance to like try it on, like experience it for yourself, and how might they react or this character react or whatever in that situation. It's really interesting.
It is. It yeah. And I think like the curiosity behind like why people do the things they do is something like I feel like even since I was little is something that I've always been so fascinated with.
Hmm.
Hard to find ways to kind of satisfy that
Yeah.
curiosity, and I think too, like even like with that term mirroring of like
Hmm.
finding a character you really love and just sort of like bringing them somehow into your everyday life is
Hmm.
an aspect of that as well, which is really interesting.
Do you think that's why, like, that kind of thing also ties into like why we choose the different decks we choose? That's a kind of mirroring too, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like when I do my morning readings, I've been actually trying to take notice lately as to like why do I pick certain like I'm trying to take away any rules
Mhm.
around it because I will make up rules, and so there will be
Mhm.
times where I'll use a set of decks just because I'm like I've decided I'm gonna use it this month and I haven't.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna do that. I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to
Mhm.
go off of feeling because I realize that just works better for me. And I
Mhm.
try to take notice of like, okay, why do I feel like this is what I need to be using today?
Mhm. I think that's great. Like I probably should do that more, because I definitely find that if I like select all my, which I do because I do it like in a member video, I select all the decks that I'm going to work with for the month ahead of time. Part of that is because like I need them to just be out and accessible, or I won't do it. It's out of sight, out of mind for me. Partially because I have so many projects going on, but partially just because that's just the way I am. If it's not in my face, I forget I have it.
Yes, I that is the one downside to doing it this way is that
Mhm.
one, like, it feels chaotic. It really does because
Mhm.
going off of feeling and like even like I said, like I've got these new decks kind of just sitting here, which is not
Mhm.
like me, but
Mhm.
like there's no order to it. And so there's pros and cons, and I think that's why I kind of find myself bouncing back and forth between a very rigid structure around it to completely no structure, because it'll, like, the no structure thing will be interesting and fun for a little bit, but then inevitably it turns into like, okay, this is chaos. And like to like at the end of the month trying to do a favorites video, I'm like, well, I use something different every single day. That's not gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I do that too. I bounce between, like, I feel like I do it with my tarot practice. I definitely do it with like planners and journaling, where I'm like, I need all the rules and then I want no rules.
Yes.
And there's like not really a huge in between space. It's like I'm on or I'm off with that.
Yeah.
And I flip flop.
Yeah.
This month I'm on. This month I might be off.
And I think the thing that would be interesting to even take notice of with that is like what's going on when you are choosing to have a lot of rules, and maybe what's going on when like it's a no rule kind of like few. Like, does that correlate to anything else? I think would be interesting. Not something I've paid attention to, but probably should.
Yeah. I paid a little bit of attention to it when I was trying to figure out with my last like sort of reset with all my planners. I was trying to figure out like, because I know I do it quite frequently with this whole like resetting planners and decks and practices and all that. And so I did take some time and kind of try to figure out like why, like what's going on in my life when that happens. And I definitely found that there's a correlation between like where I start at the beginning of the year versus where I am at the middle of the year. Because I have like all of my stuff and plans and goals that I started, all my rules that I started with at the beginning of the year. And then I continue to add rules to that.
Yeah.
And goals until I get to the point where I'm just now overwhelmed with it all. And then I go, okay, I'm done. And then I just take all the rules away. And then I go no rules for a while, which is where I'm at right now, is kind of like no rules. I'm in this one and this one and this one and just all over the place. But I think for me, it also correlates to how many other projects I'm working on that have structure to them.
Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So when I've got like, because like right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4. I have 4 book projects currently, and those are very structured, like,
right.
You know, particularly for, you know, you have to get certain things done and before you can move on to other certain things, right? And so I find that the more of those I have, the like more loosey goosey my tarot and my planning and my journaling gets.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because towards the beginning of the year, something I took notice of with like wanting to like, all of a sudden I was like, I just wish I had a collection of 20 decks because it's too much choice. It's because like in the rest of my life, I was kind of like had no choice but to be making all these choices and things like that, and like needing to make structure. And so I think when it comes to the things we do in our own personal time, like with journals and with tarot, what I always say to myself now is like, this is the thing that I can have complete control over, which sometimes is, a lot of the times, like as long as I'm aware of that, is great. Like in the case of, like I said, 3 years ago, where I did follow through on that and like did a whole huge like purge of decks so that my collection was very small. Like that's not so good, because it really wasn't about the decks. It just was about like, I can control this. Yay. I can't control stuff, but I can control this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes total sense, right? We kind of like that pick and choose your battle things, right?
Yeah.
Like I can deal with this right now. I go through that with my deck collection all the time. I'm using basically the same small group of decks.
Yes.
Like month after month. I have a few new ones. Like I'll get a few new ones here and there, and I'll be like, oh, this is new. I want to play with this for this month. But most of those, I bet if I went back and look at every time I've done that so far this year, I probably haven't brought most of them back outside of that initial month or whatever. I was like, it's new. I'm going to play with it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I definitely get stuck in that too, where like sometimes it is overwhelming, like getting in new things. Now that I'm aware that that's something I do, when I get something new in, I'm like, okay, is this how is this how I want to do it with this one too? Like where I'm just gonna play with it for a little bit and then go back to the ones that I always use. And I think it's somewhat that it's cyclical is how I try to look at it, is that some new decks, because I work with things so based on mood and season too, probably just gonna go away for now. And maybe it's when the season rolls around again, if I bring it back out, then that's telling. And if I don't, maybe that's telling as well. It's so interesting how I do the same thing where with new decks, it's like, yay, I want to play with this new deck. And then sometimes it just totally goes on a shelf and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
That's where you stay now.
It's kind of like, I was talking to somebody about the other day and it's kind of like, so in my novel that I'm writing, there was a cat for like 6 chapters. I don't know where the cat went. I'm like in chapter 30 something. The cat, I just realized just last week, I'm like, oh shit, I haven't had the cat in this book for like, 30 freaking chapters or whatever it is. And new tarot decks are kind of like that to me. Sometimes it's like, I get them, they're here, and then they like disappear into the story of my life and they just never get seen again.
Yes. Like, it's that, like, too, the out of sight, out of mind. Very tricky. I just, like, the other day I was going through my decks and I was like, oh my gosh, the Witch Sister Tarot. I loved that one. I would still love it. It's just that it went to the bottom of the pile and suddenly it was no longer existent.
Yeah.
And I think I'm curious of like to find a system that somewhat challenges the out of sight, out of mind. I have not found it yet.
Me either. I think I'm looking for that same system. I had like, so when Kevin built me like this extra shelf in the middle, so I was like, I have room for another bookshelf and I need another one. So he built that one. Well, we got a slightly different one, and this one has like a top part with the glass, but in the bottom there's drawers. The other day I was like, I know I have this deck. For like 45 minutes, I went through every deck on my shelf. I went through every deck in my closet. I'm like, I know I have totally spaced the fact that the drawer is full of decks that I have completely forgotten that I own. There's 3 of them, 3 huge drawers full of decks. I'm like, but then I went through it and I was like, it was like Christmas because I had forgotten I had all of those decks.
I do the same thing with this. It's like one of those old cedar chests behind is filled with decks because, I can only keep so many out at a time that I really need to every once in a while crack it open and be like, okay, what's here? The only thing I've somewhat like landed on with that is that the ones that go, because I'm like, that's out of sight, and it ends up buried because it's a surface. And if it's there's an empty surface, I fill it.
Yeah.
So I try to switch it out seasonally. So right now, what should be in there are like the decks that I'm only going to use them in the fall. I'm only going to use them in the winter. And it's not those seasons. And so, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. But
yeah,
it's so, the out of sight, out of mind. I would be so curious, like, if someone has found the solution to that, because it has stumped me since I started collecting. Like, truly.
Yeah, same. I used to have like a spreadsheet. Well, I mean, technically I do still have a spreadsheet. It's way out of date because I hit over 500 and then I just gave up like on the spreadsheet, because at that point, when you have a collection that big, even having a spreadsheet really doesn't do you any good. Because I was like, it's fine. I can put stuff in storage, in closet, like wherever, to just get it, because there's only so much room on the shelves.
Right.
And I was like, I'll still know I have it because I have it listed in a spreadsheet. I can't find anything in the spreadsheet either.
Right. So, like the number of the collection, like that's not the problem. It's just like my own brain being able to remember it. I can't do that. And so it's almost like it feels like the right thing to do is categories, but then that works out and doesn't all at the same time.
Yeah. I was trying to do the deck family thing because I do have decks that I like, I work with them together all the time. And so I kind of started with that. And that sort of works, but some decks are in multiple families. So I'm like, well, then,
Right.
okay. But then that's also not necessarily seasonal, but some of them are. And like, that was, I mean, technically my stuff is sort of divided up by light half of the year and dark half of the year, because that is about as far as I could get with the dividing things up. But this half over here, the dark half of the year, the majority of my decks that I'm currently working with this month came off of that side of the shelf. So that just blows that whole theory out the window, because even though it's not the dark half of the year, that's the vibe I was in when I picked my decks.
Yes, exactly. I've been doing the same thing, or even like I was making a video the other day where I was like, at the end I like going through pairings and I was like, oh my gosh, I just know this deck would pair so well with the things I have, yeah, for the dark half of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But then I have to go digging into that chest and I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing I've been toying with in my brain, at least, I haven't actually done it, is I have 2 shelves where the intention is I put the decks that I really am working with at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It ends up turning into other things, but that's the intention. And so I almost wonder if I just need to have those 2 shelves and know that they might be constantly switching out depending on what vibe it is I want. And if it ends up where I change it out one day, then the next day I immediately switch it out, that's fine. Or maybe it sticks around for a couple weeks and that's what it is. And instead of like thinking about it so strictly as seasonal or what I like, or just new things like that, because otherwise I find myself getting stuck in, okay, I have this slotted as a summer deck. Summer's almost over and I haven't used it. Now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it's gonna get lonely.
Yeah. It's like, you can't use you if it's not your season too.
Right.
Like, what I've started doing, what I have currently going on is so I just ignored what's all behind me for the most part.
Yeah.
And what I did was I took, I have basically like 3 baskets, like smaller baskets on my desk. One basket holds all of my Weaver decks for the month.
Okay.
One basket holds all of my Gamify decks, and I've been using those about 2 months. And then the other basket has just whatever the decks that I said that I was going to work with for the month. And then I've just been leaving those out. And I do find that I will like sometimes grab, a deck that's in my Weaver's basket for this, that, or the other. But the thing that I've noticed is I could put all of those decks together and they would fit in one collection.
Oh.
Which is really interesting. And I didn't notice this until I was literally dividing them up into their little baskets. And mostly it was just because, like, if I'm going to do Weavers, I'd just pull this basket out and do my decks or do Gamify or whatever. But then I was doing a reading with just my decks for the month or whatever that I use for whatever readings. And then I was like, oh, but I really want this one deck. And I had one. It was actually your Cottage Witch, which is in my Weaver basket, and my Fairies Oracle is in my Gamify. And so I'm like, I pulled one from there and one from there. And then I just started mixing and matching all the decks. So I'm like, they each have their little jobs, but I noticed that they all go really well together.
Oh, interesting.
So I kind of inadvertently kind of created a theme. And then I was like, I'm just not going to worry about any of the other decks sitting anywhere else.
That I think is a great idea, because I think it is like a mental thing as well, where it's like I get this thing around, okay, I have all these decks, like if I don't touch one of them in the year, like something's wrong.
Should I even have it?
Right.
Yeah.
Not true, because like I've had the case where it's like I'll rebuy something 2 years later because it just something about it. All of a sudden, just the thing I need. So that's a good idea. I might try the same thing, because I've got shelves right next to my desk that they're currently just filled with another arbitrary category I made up. I hardly reach for them because they're not in the same area as the rest of my decks.
Yeah.
Like this category I've decided.
Yeah.
It would definitely be more useful to just have like, okay, this is the working, like almost like capsule collection, really.
Yeah, kind of. This is what I'm working with currently. Like my Weaver stuff changes monthly because our theme changes monthly. My Gamify I keep about 2 months, and my whatever working decks, I generally change those monthly, but some of them they hang around for a few months, and I'll just bring other stuff in with it. But it's definitely helps with the like decision fatigue and all of that too, because I get that really bad. I'll go stand in front of my shelf and go, I have no idea what I should be working with or what I want to work with right now. And so I just come and I have like I don't know, maybe there's I think there's less than 20 here, but like I have these decks, I have a nice selection to choose from, and I only have to choose from those and not several hundred of them.
Right. That makes it so much more manageable. And like that was kind of my point, using like just the 2 shelves that
2 shelves, yeah.
Like I just have to choose from whatever's on these 2 shelves.
It's so far it's been helpful. I mean, we'll see, because in a month or two it could totally change. But I was like, also I don't want to spend half of my reading time, or the time when I come in here and I'm like, I'm going to do reading or whatever, I'm going to do a practice. Like that time is finite, and if I'm spending half of it trying to figure out what freaking deck to grab,
right,
now I've wasted 20 minutes or whatever of time that I could have been actually, doing the stuff with.
Right. It's like I feel like I either spend too much time trying to choose, or when I realize like I don't want to spend that much time, then I'll just go back to kind of the same always.
Yep.
Because it's easy and I know it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I definitely have like my old favorite standbys, and like those ones I could tell you exactly where they are. But then I also have like a whole nother shelf just off to the side here that has like my whole little family of like Diablo, Notoria, Citadel, all of those that I work with together. They like live on a shelf together with their dice. And so if I want to do that, they're all right there, which was where I was like, the idea of deck families is really great. But those ones are a very specific vibe.
Yeah, and they've got a specific purpose too.
Yeah. So like that's not really the case with all of my like deck families, right? They kind of intermingle with each other. Not everything plays with the Diablo. Like it's got its own thing going on.
Right.
So I guess I do have a couple of like little categories for some small things, but the rest of it is just like a hot mess of decks, and I couldn't even tell you where half of them are. I'm like,
same, truly same. Which I think like talking through it now, I'm realizing like it definitely is a lot of just like an idea around it, like my own mental idea of, and like kind of that little bit of shame in it still. Like, like how many times like I can talk through like it's fine to have a big collection, and still there's gonna be somewhere in the back of my brain. But
yeah, like
it's interesting to see the different ways people go about kind of like organizing and selecting, because like a system is helpful for sure. Having some kind of system and some sort of way to like reason for choosing certain things.
Yeah, I enjoy having like the structure enough, if for nothing else, just so that when I want something, I know where to go looking for it.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it too. But I also do in the back of my brain, and like same with you, I try not to let this be the case, but I feel like I do honestly feel like every deck needs to have a job in my collection. Yeah. I try really hard to like, there are some that, okay, their job is literally to just be nostalgic, and that's fine. Or their job is literally just because it's related to this fandom or whatever, right? I don't actually use it, but I have it for that. And then in that sense, it's no different than like books that I have in that same kind of thing.
Right.
But I really do fall into if I pick up a deck and I can't tell you what its job is, I do question why I have it.
Which is kind of interesting. It just sort of connected in my brain to that new game Wanderstop I'm playing, because the idea is if you're not doing something, if you don't have this external purpose, like, what is the point? And the point can just be to exist.
To exist, just to be. Yeah.
Like it. Oh, that's so interesting. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
that got me thinking too of like, well, there's still some that it's like, you know, it doesn't have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's like one that I'm like, no, but I shouldn't like let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this idea of like, well, maybe it's fine, just like it doesn't need to have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Fine if it just exists for the joy of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that's psychology in that.
That is. That's definitely something I've been working on is just because I like it is enough of a purpose.
Yes. Because
but I struggle with that. I really do.
Oh, yes, me too. Which I think definitely ties into like a lot of things just like I work on with myself of like, if I just want to, it's the same like feelings I have around like if I just sat on the couch and looked at the wall, I'm gonna have like feelings around doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like I'm allowed, like you are allowed to just do that if that's what you want to. Like you can just sit on the couch and truly do nothing. That, like doesn't say anything about you as a person. It definitely ties into, or at least I feel like for me anyway, like it ties into how I see the things I own. Like everything have a purpose, but it doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm very much the same way because I have things like sitting around that like I have intentionally sitting around because I like them and they don't serve a purpose. I just like it.
Yeah.
But that's a hard thing for me to come around. And again, that's probably a reflection of my own psychology too, because I think I need to have a purpose and everything I need to be doing has a purpose. Like I literally just had this conversation with Kevin over the weekend because he was last night, Sunday evening, he was like, so do you feel like you wasted your complete weekend because you didn't actually do anything? I'm like, oh, but I did this in the game and I did this in the game and I did this in the game. But he's like, you didn't do any work. I'm like, but that was the purpose, right?
Yes.
The purpose was not to do the work. So I weirdly took the idea of not having purpose and gave it purpose because that is how my brain works, which he pointed out to me. He's like, that's so meta. I was like, damn it.
I did the same this weekend because it was like the one weekend in a like what's going to be quite some time where nothing to do. I never didn't even think of it though because all the things I was doing, I kept being like, yes, we're doing what I intended to. And that was nothing. Like I did that.
Yep. Yeah. He was teasing me because I made purpose out of not having purpose. And I was like, damn it. I was like, it's fine. Because I couldn't just say, no, you're right. I didn't do anything. I had to justify in my own brain that I did this, that, or the other. Like I was like, what? We were like level 20 when we started this on Friday. When we started playing, we decided to do this big weekend thing. And he's like, so you sat down and made the decision that we were going to have this big gaming thing he's like, that's purpose. I'm like, okay, that's true. I totally set the purpose to not have purpose, but create a purpose in it because that's how my brain works.
Right. And so I almost feel like with the decks, it in a way is sort of could be like an interesting challenge to sort of look at decks and think like, do I just like it? Okay, great. Let's like not go anywhere else with it.
Yeah.
The answer is, I don't know if I do really like it. Whole other story.
That's totally different. Yeah. That's kind of, what is that? I forget the thing, but it's like, does it spark joy? Right.
Marie Kondo.
Yeah. I've never actually like done that, but I've heard a lot about it, seen a lot about it, but it makes me think of that. Like, because that's supposed to be its thing, right? If it sparks joy, I think if it sparks joy, like that's.
Yeah. Then you keep it. But if
then you keep it. Yeah. But then that would be a really interesting thing to look and find like decks that is its only purpose, right? It's just, I just like it. I've got no other reason for it to be here.
Right. That it just sparks joy. And I know I've got them. But it's like an uncomfortable thing.
Yeah. It's like, it's My joy is not enough purpose for it to exist.
Right. And actually I've got one right here that the Wizard's Tarot. To tell you, I don't think I've really ever done a reading with it. And every time I'm like in a little bit of like a cleaning out mode, I look at it every single time, and I'm like, I probably should get rid of this because I don't use it, and I see myself really using it. But then I go through it and it just sparks so much joy that it ends up staying. And so like I did it just yesterday. Yesterday, I like paired it with something for the first time ever. And I was like, I don't know. Because originally I was looking at it, I was like, why am I keeping that? I don't use it. And I really had to catch myself in that of like, no, but I like it. And it's okay that I just like it. Oh my God.
Yeah. What does that one look like?
Yeah, it's got these just like weird, very strange monsters on every card. It really doesn't make that much sense. There's no guidebook. I don't know what the suits. Oh no, they give the suits on the inside of the cover. Okay, that's good. I think I didn't realize that at first, and I was like, what's the Page of Beasts? What does that mean?
Yeah.
But the alien.
Oh, okay. But see, that's like, I'm a sucker for shit like that because I'm like, it's just cute. I might need that just because I should get it just to spark joy.
Yeah, exactly. And because that was the only reason I initially got it was because I was like, that is so silly and fun. Now it's like, okay, I've never really read with it, but it's okay. Like, that's fine. I guess every time I look through it, I'm like, this is great.
It's so crazy. I love decks like that. I think it's important. It's probably an important exercise in personal growth to allow yourself, if you are that way, to allow yourself to have some of those decks that push that boundary back on you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, that'll be an interesting way to look at it now. Like, as I'm still in the process of just sort of like examining. Very interesting lens to keep in mind.
Maybe we should do a tag, Krista. Like, to have no purpose, but spark joy.
Wait, yes.
That would be fun. We should totally do that.
Fun.
I swear, every time I do a cards and company with somebody, more content comes out of it. I freaking love it.
First of all, I just love watching this series. They're always so fun. But then, yes, I'm always like, oh, what's going to come out of it?